Hello, welcome to my channel. Hey guys, it's Nick, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you about snare reamping. So what is snare reamping? It definitely sounds like something that you would make up to mess with your engineer, but it's actually a really cool technique from like the 70s or something. I actually don't really know when it originated, but it's old. And basically the concept was you would send the recorded signal of your snare drum out into a speaker, and then you'd use the signal coming out of that speaker to resonate an actual snare. And they would do this so that they could get more of that bottom snare sound. Like let's say somebody sent you stems to mix and there was no bottom snare included, or you recorded drums and just didn't mic the bottom snare, but you want more of the snares. You would then reamp the snare, so when the audio goes through that speaker, it's going to resonate the snares, and then you'll be able to record that and blend it with the other recorded snare track. And another cool thing you can do with this trick is, let's say you didn't have a good room, or you didn't have room mics, you can actually do the exact same concept, but put some room mics up, and then it'll give you that room ambience. And it really doesn't matter what kind of speaker you use. You can use a guitar cab, you can use a PA speaker, you can use a studio monitor, as long as you can run signal through it. The way I did it was, I had a big PA speaker in my studio, so I just laid it on its back facing up towards the ceiling, and then I took the snare and I placed it right over the speaker upside down, so the snares are now on the top side, and then I was able to mic the snares a lot easier that way, because there was no way I would have been able to get that big speaker underneath the snare if it was on a normal snare stand. It doesn't matter if you have a small speaker and you put it on top of the snare, or if you do what I did and you put the snare just on top of the speaker, and it doesn't matter which way the snare is facing, it's whatever sound you're going for. I wanted to get more of the bottom snares, so I did it this way so that I could mic specifically those bottom snares. So we have the speaker in the drum room set up with the snare directly on top of it and mic'd up. All that stuff in there is ready to go. Let's jump into this project so we can get the project set up. That way we can record this reamp snare and I can show you guys what it sounds like. I have some drums here, and these are the drums I want to reamp the snare over. Here's what they sound like right now. So the first thing I want to do is send this snare track to its own bus. And the reason for that is I can set the output of that bus to whatever output of my interface is going to the speaker in the drum room. Mine is set up right now to output 5 or 6. So I'm going to set that bus to output 5 or 6. Yours is probably going to be different depending on your setup. But let's send the snare to its own bus real quick. I'm going to do that by just clicking right here. I'm going to go to bus, and then we're going to send it to bus 6. And then I'm just going to set the level of the send to 0, and I'm going to do that by holding Option and then clicking on it. And then let's jump over here to the bus we just sent it to. The signal from the snare is now going to this track right here, which is now my snare bus. But like I said, I need to change this stereo out of this bus to whatever output on my interface is going to that speaker, and on mine, it's output 5 or 6. So I'm going to go down to output 5 or 6. So now the signal for my snare should be going to the speaker in the drum room. But before we can hear that, we have to create a track for the microphone on the snare in the drum room. So let's do that real quick. Cool, so now when I hit play, I should hear the snare in the live room being played as well. And you might need to adjust the level of the output that's going to the speaker, because the louder you turn it up, it's going to sound different. It's really going to be to taste to whatever sound you're going for. I'm pretty happy with where all mine is right now, but if I give it more volume, it's going to start changing the sound a lot more. I kind of like it just at 0 and how everything is set up already, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Let's record this real quick. Cool. Now I'm going to turn off that output that's going to the snare in the drum room so I don't hear that snare anymore. I want to hear what we just recorded. That's pretty cool. Let's see what it sounds like without that snare. And then let's hear it with it one more time. It's such a cool trick and it adds so much to that snare drum, and it's such an easy thing to do if you just have a speaker lying around, a snare drum, and a microphone. You can do it. And if you're good at tuning drums, what could be really helpful is kind of making sure that the tuning of the snare that you're setting on top of the speaker matches the tuning of the snare track that you're sending through the speaker. If you're not great at tuning drums, you can always use a plugin to change the pitch, or I'm sure your DAW has a way to fine-tune the pitch a little bit. I hope you guys thought this little technique was really cool. I think it's super awesome. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. Beans is such a good dog. There's no better dog than Beans.